Hey there, this is Jacqueline Penner from Jacqueline Penner Art, and today I'm just going to be painting a peony, and I thought you might like to join me or follow along while I'm doing that. I didn't really make much of a plan except that these are a couple of the peonies that I have already painted on another video in this group. And if you go to the videos section, you should be able to find it. It's painting this peony in acrylic paint. And today I'm going to paint it on video in watercolor. So this is an example of doing it in watercolor. Although I'm not sure how I'll do it today. It'll probably turn out different, I'm sure, but that's what I'm going to do. And this is an example of the PDF that is available in the group as well for you to use if you want. You can always sketch your own drawing, of course, but if you don't feel like doing your own sketch, this is provided for you in the group under Files. So it's a PDF document, and this one is called a starling and a peony, I think. And they print out just like this on the same page. And so you're welcome to do that if you want to give this a try. So I also thought I would just show you how I transfer these in case you haven't had a chance to see that. So what I'm going to be doing is I just use my pencil. Now this is kind of a soft pencil. It's a 7B, but you can use any graphite pencil that you have. And so I'm just going to give this some pencil on the back of my regular piece of paper where I've printed this off from my printer, and I'm going to use that to transfer my image. So I'm just trying to put some graphite everywhere that has lines here. Really doesn't take that long. There's a couple reasons I like to do this. One is that when I'm going to do a sketch that I'm going to use, or a line drawing, I'm going to use it for watercolor. Sometimes I like to keep them because I'm going to use it again anyway. And so I like to sketch on drawing paper, not on my watercolor paper, because watercolor paper is very delicate. The surface is very delicate as far as erasing, so I don't want to be erasing on there too much. I'm sorry, I'm just checking out if my video is working here. It looks like it is. Okay, so that's what I do. I just give it some graphite on the back. And I like my drawing to not be super dark on my watercolor paper. But you can do it however you like. And it is pencil, so it's going to be erasable and pretty user-friendly. So what I do here is I have a 7x7 piece of watercolor paper that I'm going to paint on, and I'm going to use a piece of tape. That's probably enough, actually, just so I have that it can't move, and it's kind of taped both papers down to my table, so it's not going to move around on me. And you can use anything you like to trace this on. I thought I'd maybe use a pen this time, so then I can see where my lines are. You know, and I want to push, but I don't want to make a dent in my watercolor paper below. So this, because we taped it down, you can lift it up and see how that's going. And it's working pretty good. Sometimes I forget where I've traced and where I haven't, so you just take a peek and keep it going. Oh, it's so relaxing to sit down and paint. I have my family at home these days all the time, so it feels like I'm always cooking. For one thing, cooking and dishes, oh my goodness, they are just never ending. Anybody else feeling like that these days? So I posted a poll in the group today just to find out how many of you already have lots of art supplies, or do you not have lots of art supplies yet? Because just wondering if that's something I should be telling you about, or maybe you already know about lots about art supplies. But what I'm going to be using today, you can see in the screen here, is this is actually my travel watercolor palette, and you know, this is the one I use the most. It's kind of a medium-sized watercolor palette. I have small ones and I have a bigger one, and this is the one I go to the most. I think it's because it has just the right amount of colors for me. A lot of the time for what I want to use is all in here. But I have others that I use from time to time too. But this one is pretty handy. And so these are tube watercolors. So it's watercolor paint that you buy in a tube, and you just squirt some into your palette and you use it like that, and it lasts a long time because you can just reuse it, and even when they dry out, you can still reconstitute it with water and keep painting. So that's probably my favorite way of doing it. I'm just going to use my pencil and extend this here a little bit. There I did a crazy line. Okay. So I don't know if you can see that super well, but we did get the image transferred pretty quickly. I didn't need any special equipment. I mean, you can use some carbon paper or graphite paper if you have that, but I find that I do use those sometimes, but they are very hard to erase, or impossible to erase if you make a mistake or you want to change something. And actually, the way I'm going to paint today, I want to erase all my pencil later. I'm going to actually go around my, let's see, where can I put this that we can see it, but I'm hopefully not going to get paint on it. Okay, and I just grabbed a couple of round brushes today. This is probably all I'll use. One is just slightly smaller than the other one. These are made for watercolor. This is a Princeton round number 10. And they are both synthetic. This is not, doesn't even really have a label on it, and it's nothing special or expensive. They are synthetic brushes, so any brush like that you have will do. And I always paint with a piece of paper towel folded up next to me. You could also use a sponge or a regular, towel if you want to do that. If you don't have paper towel, or a towel or a sponge will work good as well. And I have a big jug of water beside me. If I don't have a big jug, then I usually try and have 2 cups of water beside me so that I have a clean one and then one to wash my brush in. Okay, so I'm going to use this as an inspiration for what I'm going to paint here, but I'm going to do something different than the purple, I think, this time. I think I'll go for pinks and reds. So I might need to wash out my palette a little bit. I'll do my mixing in here so you can see it. So yeah, if I decide I don't need that anymore, I just spray my water and wipe out that section with a tissue or something. But I'll leave that green because I am going to use some greens. Okay, so I'll get some water here and put in some alizarin crimson. Before I came on the video, I used my little spray bottle and just sprayed into my tray so that I can get those paints nice and juicy. And depending on what brand you have, some of them are better at staying moist than others. It just depends what you have, but you know, even if they're really dry, you can still use them. But it works even better if you spray them with water a couple minutes before you're actually going to paint, because that'll just help them to get juicier. This is a quinacridone red. And I still have my reds on my paintbrush and I'm picking up other colors. Don't do that if you don't want to mix your colors a little bit in your in your pots here, but I do it sometimes. It's okay. I can always clean it out later. Okay, so that is, oh, I'd have to go look what color that is. I didn't write it on my palette. And then I have a really lovely, I think it's quinacridone violet, this one. So I'm just getting some of these paints prepared before I start to paint some of these colors. So yeah, I call these puddles. This is how you make a puddle with watercolor paint, because we need that water to make our paint move around on the paper. So, you know, if we were using acrylic paint, we could just pick up our paint and put it right on, but we're not using acrylic. So for watercolor, you really do need that puddle going so that your water is combined with your pigment. And that's how we get going. Now that's running into that, but it's making some lovely colors. So let's see here. I'm using this to pay attention to where my darks and lights are. So what shall I start with? I also like to keep a piece of scrap paper here so I can see how light or dark my color is before I use it. Okay, so I'm putting this in this little petal here, and And what I'm going to do with my watercolor today is I'm going to try and leave out all these areas of pencil. So I'm using the point of my brush, and I'm trying to not really touch the pencil lines, and I'm going to leave white areas in between some of my petals. And you know here and here it touched, and that's okay. I don't mind that. It's giving some beautiful effects in between what it's doing there. Okay, now I'm gonna rinse my brush out a little bit, dab it off on my paper towel. And I think I'm gonna have to combine this with this red, because that's just a little too stark red all on its own. And let's test it out on here. Oh, yeah. Okay. Lovely. Now I'm going to pick up some of my dark color and put it on this petal in the background here. And what I'm going to do as I keep going here is leave some space in between the petal that I just did, so that I don't run them all together, just giving it a little time to dry a little bit. I got quite a bit of paint there, so I'm just picking it up with my brush. Okay, and I'm just going to pick up some blue. This is Ultramarine Blue, just to get a dark pigment here. And I'm going to drop that in while this is all still wet here. Okay, and while that's still on my brush, I'm going to take it over here and make a darker area. Okay, I'm just rinsing out my brush to freshen it up here. Where should I go next? So when you're painting in this kind of style, or method, I guess it is, what I'm actually doing, I don't know if you realize, but I am looking at each of these petals and areas as its own specific shape. So I'm painting like all of these are individual shapes, and mostly they aren't touching. Mostly there's white paper separating them. And I just like how that looks when the paper is separated like that in between. I think it gives a little bit modern look to it. Maybe it looks a little bit like an illustration. Yeah, I just like to do that. I think it looks nice. I'm not especially going for a realistic watercolor in this method. It's more of an impressionist design, and I like to do it because it's just really fun. It's, you know, I'm not thinking too hard. I'm just really enjoying what these colors are doing together, and I think I will put a little bit more ultramarine blue in here. I really love blue. I guess that's why I use blue in a lot of things I'm painting, and that's why I'm getting purple here again. But you know, just use what you like. This could be any color. You could use yellow and orange if you wanted to. Just in case you're looking at this thinking this is really hard, it's not. It's not hard. Just give it a chance, give it a try. You know, you've got the sketch. You can download the sketch and then put it on a piece of paper and give it a try. And you know, if it really, you feel like it didn't turn out, just do it again on another piece of paper or on the back of the same piece of paper. It's really not difficult. It's purely enjoyable. Just watching, like what I'm doing here is mixing colors right on my paper actually, and it's just super fun, you know, and it's just a pencil and a paper and paint, you know. Give it a try, and I would love to see what you painted if you give this a try. Post it on the page, post it underneath the link of the comments of this video, or just on the page would be fine, and we can all see what you painted. Okay, so I'm gonna get a little green going here. Let's see. I really like this green a lot. I think it's called Azo Green. I think that's the whole name. It's actually very yellowy, very yellow green. And I do want to use that in this painting, but I think I'll make more of a darker green as well. I have a little bit of paint in here that's picking up some of this turquoise color underneath. And let's put in cobalt blue. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty blue. I'll add a little yellow into that. Just a little ultramarine blue. Oh yeah, I like that. Ultramarine blue. This one right here is just a lovely color. It mixes a lot of good colors, and it makes good skies, and it's just a fabulous color. Okay, let's just see what I've got going here. Okay, I want that a little darker. I think I'll put in a little of this sap green. It's nice, but it didn't make it darker. Let's go with a little bit of sepia. This is super dark if you get lots, so just a tiny bit. Okay, there we go. Alrighty. I'm just gonna put some green in here. My brush is too wet there. Picking up both of those colors, and even if I'm only using one color, I'm leaving it darker in one area and lighter in another area. And if I want to remove some paint here, so this is lighter, I just dab my paintbrush off on my paper towel so it's a little drier, and I can pick that up, and that gives me more interesting lights and darks happening there. I'll do this other leaf here. Okay, now I'm going to pick up my green that is more yellowy. Okay, so this part of the stem here, I'm doing a darker green near the flower. And I'm going to pick up some of this lighter yellow green on this part of the stem. Just going to give a little sense of shape and roundness to the stem. Mixing up a little more there. Okay, I would leave that just as it is, and if you get to this stage and you feel like there's something more you want to do with this, I would let it dry at this point, and you can use a blow dryer as long as there's no actual glossy puddles of paint or water. Right here I've got a pretty wet spot, so I wouldn't blow dry mine yet. I'd let it soak into the paper a bit first, and then you could blow dry it if you want. And then you can go back and make another layer, and what I mean by that is you can take some, say you had some areas you wanted to put some more darks into, then you could make some more dark color and put some darks in there if you want, but it won't be as blended as it is now. But there's nothing wrong with that. You know, if you want to do another layer and put some more darks in, then that's how you do it. I just happened to get enough darks in there at this time in one pass that I'm going to leave it like that. And I quite like how it turned out, and it did turn out better than the first one I did. I think I like the intensity of some of those reds even better. So it's good to do the same thing more than once so you can practice too. It's nice to have a sketchbook with watercolor paper, or at least mixed media paper, so it doesn't buckle on you too much, and just go for it. Just practice, and yeah. So I just thought, since I am here and we're done that painting, I would maybe just mix up a little bit of paint here and show you a couple things that you could do to practice. Let's see here. One thing you could do is, say you have your paint mixed up here, or you could mix new paint, however you want to do it, and just practice doing light and dark. So here I've got some colors mixed. I think this one is fairly light. Let's see. Yeah, so let's say I put that color down and I think, okay, now I need to add some dark into this. So you can look at your palette and you can try adding more of the same color for starters. That's one way you can make it darker. So I'm just picking up pretty thick paint right out of the color here, and that's what I get. But if I really wanted to make that darker, I could add a dark blue. That would make it darker. And get some pigment going in there. Also, I can use a thirsty brush and pick some up, and then I'm going to have more light and dark happening in my same wet area. So this is something that comes more naturally after you've gotten familiar with the particular paint that you're using too, because the brands are different and the pigments and colors themselves are different. But this is a good thing to practice if you practice making light and dark. So here I have a pretty even section of color there. And let's do the same thing. Let's remove some there, and let's get it even darker here. I could add this purple. I think that would make it a little darker. Oh, maybe not lots. Let's see. Not lots darker, but a little. You can add one of your darker blues. Let's try one of these. This is a phthalo blue, and it's very potent. It just will take over if you let it. It's very strongly pigmented. Yeah, that definitely gave us a dark. So that's probably too dark. You know, if that happened to you and you wanted this to be more blended, then dry off your brush and rinse it and dry it off, and you can remove some of that a little bit. You can also go put some more red back in, and there, now we have something that's transitioning a little more. And let's try that again with our greens. So we know this is a lighter green because it has lots of yellow in it. Anything with yellow is always going to be lighter. Okay, and we want to darken it, or we can add our darker green, which we got from mixing yellow with ultramarine blue. Oh, let's put a little phthalo blue in there this time and see what happens. Phthalo blue will also always make things turn more like teal and turquoise looking, which does not make natural greens for, you know, nature looking greens. So I don't usually use it for that. But it makes beautiful teal and turquoise. So it's definitely good for that. And it'll get things dark right away. Here I'm going to use a tiny bit of sepia to tone down that bright blue. You could also use burnt sienna. I don't know, I might have made an ugly green there. Oh, it's not bad. Yeah, that's a more natural looking green that you would find in nature. Rinsing out my brush, and I'm going to get some more azo green and just put that together here. Oh no, I mixed it in too far. But yeah, so that's giving me a lighter and a medium and a little darker and a darker green, and it's still green, but yeah, that's a good thing to practice, and that way when you're painting something like this, you'll know a little bit more about your colors that you have and what you like to combine. But you know, you always have a piece of paper to test on here before you put it in your painting anyway, just in case you mix a color that you don't like. But well, it has been fun. I hope this is inspiring you to paint and to print out one of these and transfer it onto some watercolor paper, or even just drawing paper or whatever you have, and give it a try. And please do comment and share your work with us. We'd love to see it. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching.